Welcome to the Co-Create podcast. My name is Brooke Snow. I am a transformational teacher and a meditation and breathwork coach, and your host of the Co-Create podcast. I invite you to subscribe to the Co-Create podcast for weekly inspiration. In this podcast series, we explore creation principles that help you heal your past, create your future, and love and accept the present moment. In this episode, we are going to explore what is the law of creation and how can it help me love better. And since this is a new beginning for the Co-Create podcast, it feels really appropriate to begin by laying a foundation of all the work that I do about the law of creation. So we're going to talk about what it is and how it can help us to love better. And just out of curiosity, I went to ChatGPT and asked, what is the law of creation? And this is the response that I got. ChatGPT says, the law of creation states that we have the power to shape our reality through our thoughts, beliefs, and intentions. By consciously focusing on what we desire and aligning our energy with it, we can manifest the life we want. So a lot of times you'll probably hear the law of creation with other terms. Some of those could be the law of attraction. Some people speak about it in using the word manifestation. Those tend to be the top two popular variations. And I really prefer to use the term law of creation because it feels in alignment with the natural world. Creation is the natural world to me. And that also gives me a sense of a greater presence of the divine as a collaborative force in creating our life. I tend to find a lot of comfort in to think that I don't have to create on my own. It's not a solo effort because life can already feel lonely at times. And that's why I really focus in even on the name of this podcast by calling it Co-Create. We're way more effective in life when we can do it in connection and in collaboration. And whether that collaboration is simply us and the divine, us and our people around us, whatever it is, we want to work towards creating from a place of being one, being in connection. And that's where I feel like the term, the law of creation, really tends to highlight those aspects for me in a really beautiful way. So I've taught the law of creation for probably about the past 10 years. And I teach this framework using 5 simple words to make it really easy to remember and also actionable. And those 5 words include feel, be, see, say, and do. Feel, be, see, say, and do. So our feelings include our emotions and the sensations that are in our body. And being includes our capacity to really embody and hold space for our creation. It is our identity. It is who we are. See and say include our thoughts and our beliefs. And then do includes our actions. We have to put forth effort and action to bring things into the physical world. So feel, be, see, say, and do. Each part is important and it's needed for the whole. Feel, be, see, say, and do. So if you don't remember anything else from what I teach, I hope you remember these 5 words and I hope you remember them in order. And by the end of this episode, you will know how you can use those words as a beautiful guide to heal your past, to create your future, and to live in the present. Now, if you've ever taken any courses from me in the past where I have taught the law of creation, I want to bring special attention to this is an upgrade, what I'm teaching right now. It is different than the way that I have ever taught it. And it is the most important upgrade that I have ever made to this framework. So let's explore what the difference is. I'm actually going to show you the old way that I taught it, which might seem a little weird for me to show the old way, but I think the old way contains two common fallacies that we often do when we set out to create our life. That is in the old way of teaching. And those fallacies still exist in great prevalence in our world today. And so we need to be aware of that. And these fallacies are something that maybe you too have found yourself believing and practicing. And so once you see the old way as compared to the new way, you can understand why I have changed this framework. And hopefully the new way will have more impact so you too can make the necessary tweaks in your approach to creating your life with a whole lot more success. So remember the new version: feel, be, see, say, and do. So my old version of the law of creation, it actually included the same words, but in a different order. I used to teach see, say, feel, do, become. I would always in the past lead out with see and say. And this was really built upon the belief that our thoughts create our feelings. See and say are the images and the words that are in our mind. They are our thoughts. It's our thinking mind. And yes, our thoughts do create feelings. For example, if I thought the thought of I am not enough, and then I repeat that in my mind, it most definitely is going to cause some sensations in my body, which I may then interpret as sadness or depression. But creation does not always happen in this order. It doesn't always begin with a thought and lead to a feeling. Have you ever felt a feeling before, but you maybe didn't know why? Maybe you just felt something. When we start to study the nervous system in our bodies, we discover that our thoughts are not always the origin of our feelings. Dr. Lisa Feldman Barrett, she is a psychology professor at Northeastern University, and she introduced what's known as the theory of constructed emotion. And according to this groundbreaking theory, emotions begin in the body as physical sensations, which our subconscious then uses to predict how we should feel based on how we felt in the past when we had experienced similar feelings inside of our body. So maybe our heart is racing and our breath is quick and our blood is pulsing through our veins. Our brain may interpret these sensations as fear or excitement, depending on what we have experienced in the past when we have felt those sensations in our body. So, for instance, maybe we're preparing for a really big speech, and in the past, we have had unpleasant experiences with public speaking. If so, our subconscious may interpret this sensory state as fear. But if our past experience with public speaking has been positive, our subconscious may interpret those same sensations as excitement. So our emotions are really just mental concepts created by our body and driven by our past. Or as Dr. Barrett put it, our emotions are constructions of the world, not reactions to it. Our mind isn't always accurate in interpreting our emotions. It will supply a reason to explain why we have a sensation in our body based on past experience. In other words, it's biased. So, do our thoughts create our feelings? Yes. And do our feelings cause our thoughts? Also, yes. So if that's the case, you may wonder why the order for the law of creation matters at all. In the life coaching world or in the mindset and self-improvement world, It's really common to lead with the belief that if you just change your thought about something, then your feelings will change. And this is wonderful, except when it doesn't work. There is not a 100% accuracy rate on this approach. Sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. Have you ever been told to just choose a new thought and had it backfire? Or maybe have you ever picked an affirmation or a mantra and actually had it fail to produce the change of feelings that you were hoping for? I know I have. If I'm feeling down or activated in my nervous system and I just rattle off a new thought or an affirmation, oftentimes it doesn't change those feelings at all because my emotions are so charged. Or worse yet, perhaps when I say that affirmation, I feel like I'm lying. And this is because my body doesn't believe the words. My body isn't going to be fooled by any think positive mind tricks. Now, don't get me wrong. I am a certified coach in 3 different coaching methods. And most of all, I am a devoted meditator. And I love picking a mantra that I hope will change everything and reciting it on repeat for long periods of time. Sometimes this works, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it all falls flat. So it becomes really important to understand what is happening in the moments where this new thought fails to change my feelings. This is where understanding how the nervous system works can literally change everything. Now, I'm not going to be going into great detail in this episode on the nervous system, but if this excites you and you find yourself wanting to go deeper, I invite you to come and join me for one of my live breathwork sessions dedicated to helping you repattern your nervous system. And I'll leave a link in the show notes, or you can visit my events page at brooksnow.com/events. So going back to law of creation, fallacy number 1 is just pick a new thought. This doesn't always work. Feelings can also precede thinking. The next fallacy in this old version is found in the tense of the words. See, say, feel, do, become. You may notice that the first 4 words are present tense and the final word is future tense. This, too, is a common approach to goal setting or self-improvement. And our society is really obsessively focused on the future. Who we want to become, what we want to achieve, what outcomes and successes that we are really working towards. I remember reading James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, amazing book. And he points out in there that the approach to goal setting often fails because we were only focused on a future outcome. And he then presents his model for the 3 layers of behavior change. And the outermost layer is the outcome. And this is where most of us start with a goal, is like, what is it that we want? And this is actually where most people stay, is just like, set the goal of what you want to accomplish. What is the outcome that you want? If you go 1 layer deeper in his model of behavior change, you establish a process to reach your outcome. And of course, if you have a process for reaching that outcome, your chances of reaching your goal are going to increase. But here's where things get even more interesting. It was only those that went to the 3rd layer, it's like the innermost center layer of this model, and they made their goal their identity, or in other words, their current state of being rather than a future state of being. It was these people that were most likely to achieve the outcome. So really, it's not that we need to ditch the practice of thinking of the future. It's just that we need to find a way to make that future state of being the same state of being as our present. We need to embody that version of ourselves in the now. Now, it's important to make that identity component of who we are today be present and not just who we hope we will become when we reach our desired outcome. So we want to have present tense all around for every piece of creation here. Feel, be, see, say, and do. So not only did I change the future tense of become to the present tense be, but I put it in the most powerfully transformative place in the cycle, right at the beginning. Feeling and being, they may seem really similar, and they are, but the subtleties of how they're used in the law of creation are so effective and beautiful. So when we put this new order in place, we're no longer leading with future outcomes anymore. Instead, we are leading with our feelings and leading with our very being, who we are right now. And this is so much more effective. For example, let's imagine that your goal is to lose 20 pounds. And you could put that goal into the old version and you can see it, say it, do it. You can visualize it, you can affirm it, and you can do the actions that will be required to reach your outcome. This can work. The old way does work as long as you don't burn out or get sabotaged by any of your limiting beliefs. But I want you to watch what happens when instead I lead with a feeling. So my outcome goal may still be to lose 20 pounds, but how am I hoping that this is going to make me feel? Underneath every one of our goals, every outcome that we want, it's actually really just a feeling of how we want to feel or how we think that that outcome is going to make us feel. And so let's put that into this model of the law of creation. So starting with feel, what do I think losing 20 pounds is going to bring me? Losing the 20 pounds actually doesn't mean anything if it doesn't bring me the feeling that I'm hoping for. Maybe I want to feel more confident or energized or strong or lighter or attractive or loved. So when I lead with a feeling of how I want to feel, the most amazing things can happen. I can experience that feeling right now. I don't have to wait for an outcome. I can be that person right now. I can feel that experience today. So if you save what you want for that moment of outcome in the future, you might find yourself disappointed. Your feeling and your being actually need to be practiced. Have you ever had the experience even of maybe working really hard to achieve an outcome, and then when you get there, you have not felt the way that you hoped that you would feel when you finally hit your goal? It's actually really common for amazing athletes like Olympic gold medalists to feel depressed after they achieve their amazing goal because they put so much attention on that outcome, and the moment passes as a moment in time. In fact, I remember a story that my business coach, James Wedmore, shares, and he tells the story of how depressed he got after he had his first six-figure launch. He thought everything would feel different if he made a bunch of money. But when that moment finally came and he made multiple six figures in a single launch, he immediately afterwards went into a state of depression for several months because the feelings he thought would be there never came. So, if instead you begin by leading with a feeling, then you're giving yourself the gift of feeling what you want to feel in the present moment, right now. You're actually practicing the feeling. You get the delight of experiencing the joy of life right now instead of waiting for the outcome to bring you what you want to feel. It's sort of like a joy in the journey process instead of delaying your whole experience of life for when. When that outcome comes, you will finally be happy or feel at peace or whatever it is. There is power in being present. And it's from this state of embodying the feeling that you want to feel that your thoughts and your actions actually naturally change to support you, because now you feel in alignment. Now, on the flip side, if you don't change your feelings first, you may have had the experience of maybe saying an affirmation or picking a new thought, and perhaps you feel like you're lying. The reason you feel like you're lying is because the feeling in your body does not match the thought. The mind and the body are actually in conflict. But if you change the feeling first, you know how you want to feel and you be this feeling, you embody it, and then you add the new thought, you have significantly changed your energetic alignment. As my coach Brian Johnson used to say, your physiology informs your psychology. Your physiology informs your psychology. In other words, the body comes first. Start with the feeling. Now, I just want you to imagine for a moment at this point how this affects your actions. This is why the being comes before the doing. If you have alignment with your body and your mind, the actions are so much easier. When you're just doing to reach the being, you will expend way more resources than you need to. It can eventually work from that direction if you don't burn out and you don't give up, but it's not guaranteed, and it's significantly more effective to change your state of being first. And I am all about being efficient and being effective. So, can you see how this new order, this new approach, this bottom up, starting with the body, starting with feeling, is way more effective? Feel, be, see, say, and do. You lead with how you want to feel so you can experience how you want to feel in the present. You embody this feeling as your state of being right now. And this sets your body up to believe the new empowering thoughts. And from this state, your actions are easy. Now you're in alignment. Your energy is supporting you rather than being in conflict. Your nervous system is supporting you rather than being in conflict. If you always lead with feeling, and if you understand how to change your state of being on the level of your nervous system, then whatever new supportive thought you choose will feel like a match. Then you do the actions necessary and you create your life. This approach works 100% of the time. If you simply follow this framework, you can create anything. Except, well, there's one more problem. You can feel amazing and in alignment in one moment, and then in the next moment, your false beliefs come and sabotage everything. Your brain freaks out. You doubt yourself. Wounded parts from your past come out to protect you from getting hurt again or failing again. You get pulled back into old patterns. Your nervous system goes on alert because this new feeling of calmness and expansive state is unfamiliar territory. What I just modeled for you was using the law of creation, facing the future for what you want to create. But guess what? You can also use this facing your past. You can use the law of creation to create your desired outcomes and You can use this exact same framework to heal your wounded parts that have had experiences in your past that have created limiting beliefs that hold you back. What many of us do is ignore these wounded parts. We think if we just put all of our focus on the positive and we ignore those self-sabotaging voices, then we will overcome them. If we just keep repeating the new thought or mantra or affirmation, then we will drown out the voice that believes differently. What if I told you those self-sabotaging parts are not going away and they aren't meant to be overcome? What if instead they are meant to be loved and accepted and integrated into the wholeness of who you are? What if we actually do need to listen to them? Do you want to see this in action? Let's use our example of wanting to create weight loss again. Remember, facing the future, this method could look like me first asking how I want to feel. I want to feel lighter. Can I just be? Can I just be with that desire for a moment? Be with this desire to feel lighter, to presence it, to hold space for the desire to feel lighter in my life. Can I embody this feeling of lightness? Can I see how feeling lighter would actually look in my life? What does that even look like? What does feeling lighter look like in my day-to-day? And then can I say the words that will support this desire for me to feel lighter? And then finally, what can I do to help myself feel lighter today in the present? What if feeling lighter is more than just physical weight? Is there emotional, mental, or even spiritual weight that I'm carrying as well? What could I do to help me feel lighter right now? Like just going through this framework, even hypothetically, I begin to feel transformation happening in my body because I'm first leading out with feeling and then being, and then it gets to the amazing see and say. My words start to change and I start to feel like, what can I do to make this happen? It feels amazing. And yet, even in this amazing new state, what happens is this new feeling is unfamiliar in the nervous system. And it might be something that I'm not used to being in. And even though it's a better frequency, it is calmer, it's more expansive state of being, it hasn't been my homeostasis in the past, and it's unfamiliar. And because of this, perhaps I notice a false belief pop into my mind that doesn't believe it's really possible for me to feel lighter. Or maybe it remembers all of the times in my past that I have failed in creating weight loss or physical change in my body. Maybe I recall all the times that I've tried to change and I have failed. Instead of this false belief now sabotaging my effort to create something new and sabotaging this new feeling that I was just experiencing and having this feeling of hope in creating the future, instead of letting it be sabotaged, I can take this moment. I can use the same framework to heal that wounded part of myself that feels defeated. These wounded parts are not to be ignored. They're to be listened to and loved. They are not triggers to sabotage your desires. Instead, they are invitations to heal the past so you can create a better life from a place of wholeness. Now, I want to show you how this works facing the past. We're going to use the same framework: feel, be, see, say, and do. So let's start with feel. How does this wounded part of me feel? It feels defeated. I remember all the times in the past that I have failed, and I'm afraid that I will just fail again. Can I just be? Can I be with this part of myself right now that feels defeated? Can I allow myself to fully feel the feeling of defeat? Can I be that feeling? Can I allow it to come through my body? Can I hold it? Can I hold space without resistance, without shoving down the feeling, without closing off, without running away, without distracting? Can I just be with it and presence it fully? And then what do I see? Maybe I see a memory from the past. Maybe I can imagine this part of myself. Maybe it's a younger part who's struggled with defeat and failure. And then after I can see this part of me, what can I say to this part? Maybe I could speak lovingly to this part that feels defeat. I could say, "Dear one, I know you feel defeat. I know you feel like you have failed. I validate your suffering. I honor what you've been through, and I hold space for this feeling. It is okay that you feel this way. I love and accept you just as you are. You are worthy. You are loved. You are whole. I welcome you. I love you." You will be amazed what simply allowing these feelings, allowing this part to be and feel the way that it does, and to give love and acceptance to that without putting conditions on your love and acceptance, you'll be amazed what this does for the emotional charge. It deflates it. It feels magical. It's amazing. Feel, be, see, say, and then we move into do. What can I do for this part? Now, perhaps I imagine myself giving this part of me a hug, or holding this part gently. Or perhaps this part of myself has a request of something that I could do for it that would help to soothe it. Perhaps my part needs that reassurance. I know that there have been times that haven't worked in the past, and it's understandable that you would be worried that you would fail again. I want you to know I am going to take care of you. I'm going to love you no matter what happens. I'm going to try doing this in a new way. And most importantly, this new way includes loving you with no conditions. Essentially, using the law of creation facing the past invites you to parent your wounded parts. It invites you to feel your feelings instead of spiritually bypassing. It invites you to do the shadow work that is necessary for your own healing and any forward progress that you hope to make in your life. We all have wounded parts that hold limiting beliefs about who we are and our lovability and our worthiness. This surfaces for everyone, especially when you're making the effort to move forward and change the patterns of how you feel and what you are creating in your life. If you ignore these wounded parts, if you ignore the false beliefs, if you ignore the parts of you that freak out, and instead you just keep trying to move forward, it's as if you have an anchored boat, and it doesn't matter how much you paddle, you're not going to get very far. True joy comes from a place of wholeness. And wholeness means that all parts of who you are loved and accepted. This, to me, is the most powerful part of the law of creation, because it integrates the infinite power of unconditional love. You are choosing to love all parts of who you are without condition. In the past, you may have been conditional with loving yourself. This looks like only loving the part of you who has earned it or deserved it, but judging the part of you that reacted in ways you didn't accept, or judging parts of you that you don't like. This is conditional love. I will love you if. Unconditional love is different. It loves all your parts. It holds space. It is gentle and kind and accepting. It sees your heart. It sees your whole self. And guess what happens when all your parts are welcome? They help you create what you want to create instead of sabotaging. That is the amazing part. Now it's like all of you is on board. There is no sabotaging because you have given that part acceptance, love and acceptance, unconditional love. Now, I know this was just a quick overview of the framework, but I want you to imagine what this practice could do for you personally. This is one of the most rewarding ways to meditate and create that I have ever discovered. And I practice this for myself every day. I call it my unconditional love practice. And sometimes I start facing the future and I choose how I want to feel that day. And if a limiting belief or wounded part surfaces, I then run through the same framework facing my past. It's so easy to remember, feel, be, see, say, and do. I can use it facing the future. I can use it facing the past. And it immediately de-escalates the sabotaging feeling, and I'm able to return to neutral. And also what I'm doing is I'm training my body and all the parts of me to work together and create a new homeostasis. This is the power of unconditional love and working with the body and your feelings first. This is the power of working from a place of wholeness. Oh, there is so much more I want to teach you about healing the past and how to regulate your nervous system and how to actually let go of feelings that feel in conflict to your hopes and dreams, or even how to feel something when you feel frozen or dead inside. This is what my podcast, my courses, my one-on-one sessions, and my group coaching containers are all about. The law of creation has taught me how to love myself without conditions. Learning to love myself without conditions has rippled into helping me more and more be able to love others without conditions as well. And being able to feel what I want to feel in the present has allowed me to let go of striving and hoping future outcomes will change my feelings. It has allowed me to love the journey of life, to love all parts of myself, and to know how to handle every obstacle that comes with mindfulness and with joy. It's the joy of discovering that the treasure that you've been searching for is already inside you. Feel, be, see, say, and do. You are a creator. The light in me honors the light in you. Dear one, while I mentioned the basics of the law of creation here in this episode, I would love to go on a deeper dive exploration with you into what this can really mean for your own life. That's why I put together a free introductory course where we go deeper on each of these elements: feel, be, see, say, and do. Now, if you've heard me teach this before, you're going to want to take this again because this is a brand new version of the course and it is the most powerful version yet. It's basically an 8-lesson audio course that you can access as a private podcast feed, all for free. And it also includes a bonus guided meditation track to set you up immediately to begin practicing this framework for yourself so you can experience more inner peace, self-love and acceptance, and empowerment to create the life you deeply desire. It's one of the most important courses I've ever made, and it's my gift to you as a thank you for listening. Just click the link below, and remember, you are a creator. Now go co-create something great.